the crawling practice to him. As we are back in the lobby, we are restarting the draft.
So as a reminder, we had Victor picked up for Faker, and then we had the Jhin, which normally doesn't get prioritized this highly, but it is very likely that T1 would have picked it up on the rotation afterwards. We have seen a lot of teams just go for very straight up topside into bot lane drafts, but T1 clearly wanted to play around the Jhin, or at least that's the read that Hanwha has. The
Wait,
Jace.
it's different order! Okay, so B1 Victor was the point where everything was intact.
Okay.
So apparently the Jhin was not meant to be chosen. So we have a different draft here.
So this is a lot more according to expectations, right? Because the Kalista is a champion that Vipers look exceptional on. And it also works well together with the Xin Zhao. We'll see what T1 picks up here. So Jace is open. We have good reason to believe that if it doesn't get picked here, a pick for Zeus of it is likely. And then, especially if you don't pick it here, so you're picking for lane dominance, which makes sense. This also denies the Renata. We have seen players just be like, I don't care, and still pick Renata into it. But I gotta say, when there's already a Victor on the enemy team, maybe let the Renata go. But that's not gonna get the game. If this was you know, an RE or something of the sorts, I think it makes a lot of sense. But now, maybe it's time for something else from the light. Because you can also go for a top lane picker. Again, you can secure that Jace. As I mentioned,
or you can just play a Kali.
I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
Now that we've seen more, I think you have a better chance of getting away with. This is a little bit less intense. And there is already a great ultimate with the Nico as well for you to pick away. Because the Akali, I think, really forces you to fully commit to the dive, whereas Sylas is a little bit more modular depending on the ult he can steal, depending on what position you can get him on for side lane. It does mean that there's an opportunity for T1 to ban out rough matchups for the Nico, but it does feel like Nico is one of those picks that's really hard to reliably shut down. So we'll see what T1 wants to go for. Yeah, they do have Poppy and Xin Zhao, and Owner hasn't picked yet. Like maybe, what's next, like a Nocturne? Or Wukong. I don't think either of those picks are must-bans, but just try and keep T1 off that game. I think Wukong is a good ban, looking at this, because trying to play to Wukong Victor and MF can be really tough later in the game. Still with the Elise ban.
Trying to target stuff that can go with the Kalista that can actually have a decent lane. Seems like they really want to lock down Prio here for Guma and Keria.
And that has been something that they have relied on historically, but they've really leaned into again recently. Now that Guma and Keria are both back in form. That bar performance from Keria last week was kind of insane. The Jace is getting picked on 4 here. Although I still wouldn't hate if they just leave counter pick for Zeus and just pick a support and then just take away the sign just to block a good blind pick for Doran.
It's a good blind pick. It's frontline for already 3 squishy champions. I think it's just a good ban in general. And you can hold on to it
right now.
Yeah, I mean, even Zeus played it. He was like, no, Sion's good. I just want to play it. Even though he's kind of the guy that always wants to play the flashy stuff. We are going to have Rel bans. So no Kalista Rel, which would have been very nice,
like
hard engage.
Alistar maybe? Nautilus?
Either you're blinding the Jace or like a Nidalee for Zeus, or you're just picking a solid support.
So, yeah, benefit of Leona is obviously she's a really reliable way to shut down the MF ult in case she's in a position where you can't get to her. Yeah, I love keeping counter pick for Zeus, right? This is the whole reason, and for me, the heart of this matchup is between Zeus with the counter pick and Doran on what I assume will be a very safe and stable top laner as possible.
Like Ornn or something?
Well, you can even something like the Jax, right? Like, you obviously can try and... Yorick also fulfills that same niche, right? Like, that makes sense to me as well. And Pav, I can't believe we didn't talk about him, but is obviously still very high prio, should be solid here. Does mean that Zeka gets another good ulti, a bit more limited, but it does allow you to side lane a lot more aggressively.
Jax.
And there is the Jax from Zeus. That is kind of a double up because it's both one of Doran's best picks, particularly when Doran has been on form. I think as Jax has been where he's showed some of his best team fighting. But we know that this is a skill matchup, right? This is not something that Jax wins by default. And I think it's very snowbally as well. I do think if you get the Jax ahead early, it's really good. But otherwise, we've seen the Yorick be able to get such a consistent early game that the Jax never really gets the skill. And I also think that games right now, I feel like they're decided a little bit earlier. But then you look at the fact that there is a Kalista, a Leona, and a Xin Zhao. And then I think that you're feeling pretty good about your early game if you are Hanwha Life.
Yeah, the early game is pretty insane. You know, I'm not sure how that bottom lane is going to go because I still think that MF Nico should at least win the lane. But
yeah,
in terms of like early skirmishes, it should go the way of Hanwha Life Esports. But how much prio are they going to have when they're getting poked down in mid, poked down in bot? The Jax is like kind of going even. I feel like T1 kind of net themselves a pretty good starting draft here on the blue side.
So T1 as well, right? Playing heavily for the lane prio. Playing heavily for the early game and try to snowball from there. But still a decent team fighting with this comp. But I don't know if it quite compares to what Hanwha Life, particularly in the skirmishes. And I think Owner, as always, is going to have to be the glue. If he has a good game and he is able to shut down that bot lane early, could be huge.
Well, we'll see if he's got it in the tank for game number 1. As Hanwha Life come with a very aggressive draft here in this first game. Let's hop into the rift for game 1.
생선까지 30초 남았습니다.
All right. As we're getting ready for game number 1, we'll see how this goes.
No invades just yet. Not expecting anything too crazy either. Looking at the rune setups, also no big surprises. Faker did go for the grasp, which we've seen a lot when you're playing things like Victor, like Azir in melee matchups. Should be able to get a good amount of free health from that. And then we also have Zeka on his Sylas, which...
you think he plays this one?
Yeah, yeah. And the calls about Zeka being even at Worlds, I think, weren't really true about him being an Akali Sylas 2 trick. But he definitely was the best at those champions, and then there was a reasonable drop-off, and there was things like Azir, and then there was a large drop-off. That's no longer really true, but we have still seen him have absolutely mind-boggling performances on this champion. And for Faker, I think together with Azir has been the champion that he's been most consistent with. I think Faker has had a couple of good weeks left and right, but as a whole, I don't think this has been his best spring season. If we look back even to last year, his spring was insane. And I think during MSI, we're starting to kind of see some issues creep in, but that inconsistency, I think, has been something that T1 have kind of been dealing with, which is why they're currently in third, not in second. Early game, though, obviously the Sylas not going to have the most fun time.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of an issue. I feel like especially control mages that can just take grasp and not care about matchups that they were already going to win into, but then also you don't have a lot of all-in pressure as the other side, as the Sylas. It's not a great field to go into that, so Faker's going to have a good time. As Guma, the only person to win on this patch with MF.
Does this make you feel good or bad? I never know, because it's like, yes, you are the guy that won, but also MF is clearly just not, not having the best of time.
Think about some of the MF games that we have seen, because remember game 1 of DNF versus BK. Berserker was playing MF Gragas into Kai'Sa Alistar, and they lost the lane. So, you know, some of them you really have to take with a grain of salt. Like, that loss is not because MF is bad on this patch, it's because DNF are struggling.
Zeka, as he often does, just playing.
I mean, he might get the kill here. Very, very close. Faker not respecting it. He's going to sidestep and flash away. Zeka potentially was going to flash in for a couple of, an auto and a skill, and then he's dead. But getting himself in that situation is not a good look for Faker.
That should not happen pre-6.
Yeah.
Like, Sylas, one of the big advantages you have when you're playing any control mage into Akali, into Sylas, is that they should fall behind naturally. Now, there are players like Zeka, like Chovy, that are able to not fall behind and go relatively even, right? Like, they're able to stay very close in terms of CS.
Yeah.
Straight up, winning the lane early and hard forcing a flash, that's a big deal. That means that Peanut now has a much better gank angle than you would otherwise be having. The Light has a great roam timer now. If they're able to get him out of the lane, obviously needs to make sure that Viper gets his wave, get a truckload of experience as well. And by itself, this isn't that big of a deal, but the flash to me is the biggest, right? The fact that he had to invest that, not wanting to get like flash autoed by the Sylas.
Yeah.
That's something that a team like Humble Life, I would expect, are going to be looking to punish.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, he's still playing Victor, who has grasp, so he can just, you know, push waves and not really care about the Sylas. But you're absolutely right. For like the next 3-4 minutes, he will have to play safe, or he's going to be in a lot of trouble against Xinjiao and Sylas. So has to respect it. We'll see if he does.
Also means he's not able to very early on pick up something like a Catalyst, right? Which is an incredible item. That's kind of what you want to TP back to lane on, because it allows you to stay for so much longer, gives you the sustain that, particularly in a matchup like this, where Sylas is naturally going to out-sustain you, it's going to be feeling really good as in they go.
Right, going in on Aguma, who is going to take a bunch of damage. I don't know if they actually have kill pressure here, but still a good engage from the side of the Humble Life Esports bottom lane. And
Yep. Viper clearly didn't think so, because I feel like the Light, you know, was trying to get as much damage down as possible. Viper had already given up, or maybe he was looking to try and play off of resets of the wave. One thing we hadn't mentioned yet is that Guma and Carrier were kind of stomping the 2v2, which is why we see that big lead. They were very aggressive starting level 1, able to, as a result, build a nice lead. But with this 2v2 pressure from Viper and the Light, and that great jump that the Light found on top of Guma there, going to be not equalized, but minimized when it comes to that lead.
yeah. So everything pretty good for the side of Humble Life Esports, I'd say. You know, mid lane, they get the flash out of Faker. Bottom lane, they equalize it up early on. And so when we get to see some of these early skirmishes over the first Drake or over the Grubs, Humble Life being on parity is always going to be a good spot for them with their insane skirmishing power early on. So liking their chances, as we do have, our top laners are still in the bottom lane, but we do have, walking up here is Doran. Chaos Storm comes down from Faker just to push the wave. And it's probably got a good back timing here. I don't think he's in any danger, especially with the sun coming down. And yeah, he'll just back away after the clearing of the wave.
Timing here is not that big a deal because there's no Grubs up yet, and Humble Life aren't really in a position to contest a Dragon. Does give a possible roam here for Zeka. We'll see if he actually goes for that or if he opts to use his timer to back. Doesn't look like that is going to be the case. Just going to push in instead. And now Peanut will be making his way back to his bot side, which is respawning and get some gold. We're sitting on like almost 1,000 gold there. So he does finish his tunneler. And this early game is really just about the setup, and it's the explosive nature of the Humble Life early skirmishing I'm going to be looking towards, where they are going to be the ones trying to call the shot, right? For T1, the big potential is there as well, but I do think you want to try and play a little bit more conservative because your poke is actually pretty good. With the Nico, you can kind of fish, see if you can get a root. Faker can obviously just keep firing lasers. Whereas for Humble Life, they're a melee comp. Kalista is, you know, not technically melee, but we all know it.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to put her face into the fights regardless. Zeus having a pretty rough time in this one, but he's keeping up in farm, which is really the important part. He's actually ahead on farm once he clears out this wave. So yeah, he's going to get harassed down, but at the same time, he is doing a good job of just clearing out the waves and staying ahead a little bit on the gold. About 150, but still feels good as he still has his TP available. Take it back to the lane if need be. No big action just yet.
Truly a game one, where both teams are
It's
just
all
like
brewing.
Yeah, they're kind of getting a feel. They're like, what? How we
Side-eyeing each
yeah,
other.
how are we feeling today? Are we gonna fight? I know we should. Peanut tries to take Dragon. Faker says no.
Yeah. Good luck. Go over there, stop that. As now we got the engaged Pantheon coming on up. Owner is here. Viper in a lot of trouble. Down he goes. First blood goes over to Guma, and now the bullet time as well. As, well, Keria dies to the turret, so actually it is traded back, but the kill goes to Delight, and a wave is missed by Viper. Still a good play for T1.
Big win for T1. Able to get both the Viper sums, get the kill over the Guma. Did he miss a cannon? Or?
No, he got the maiden.
Oh, he got the maiden, yeah. I'm like, Veldus only makes those noises generally if cannons are missed.
Yeah, it's basically the same.
So it starts off with, I think, Viper and Delight kind of looking, but then Keria has an earlier level 6 timer. That's what sets up the play. Knock up comes through, and then Owner can obviously follow up. The fact that Keria does end up going down is a little unfortunate, but even with him going down, that's a big win for T1. More gold into Guma. The only thing that worries me a little bit is that gold onto an MF is good, but you are playing MF into a lot of champions that I don't think she deals well with, right? Like, we're going to get to a point where the damage just isn't enough to get through Jax with Counter-Strike, to get through Zeka with a fully stacked Rod, and it will be really hard to actually get value out of it. Right now, though, I think T1 going to be feeling good about the fact that this Kalista is put on the back foot very early.
Yeah, and you can use your MF early to be a big threat for team fights, get your Victor scaled up, get your Yorick scaled up, and utilize it. And, you know, even if Guma doesn't do a huge amount of damage, we've seen Kalistas get behind and then not do too much either, depending on the fight, of course. The opposite is also true. You were pointing at T1 picking up all 3 grubs.
Of that top play, I assume. Owner just running, and the eventual trade will be a dragon picked up for Humble Life. Early Infernal Drake, always nice, but not that crazy. Until they can stack 2, and oh my, if you get another Chemtech Veldus.
It's gonna happen.
We've had too many.
We've had so many.
We've had way too many.
One thing I really like for Doran on the Yorick is that even when Zeus tries to all-in him, like we saw, Zeus is like, okay, give me the Jax. But even with the Jax at this point in the game, there's just not going to be a lot of volatility. And I think that Doran likes that because he's a player that sometimes gets caught out in weird spots or sometimes makes big plays happen with solo kills. I feel like this just evens out the playing field, makes it very straightforward, and you don't have any crazy moments where either side happens. And so you kind of neutralize yourself a little bit, but also you neutralize Zeus for now, as Zeus elects to drop a wave.
That's
he's got Viper coming up.
T1 is really running the map here. That's 2 full waves. Like, the top casters are going to be picked up, but the bot wave is just fully gone. Zeus is just not going to be able to pick that one up. That's a wave that they're going to be missing out on, and look at that. Now we see Doran has his Triforce finished. Zeus has not. TP is nowhere near. And if you are any it doesn't matter which champion. If you're playing into Triforce and you don't have yours and your opponent does, you don't really get to play the video game. Zeka, long chains, but the all-seeing eye of T1 Owner still at the ready as
it's just Victor with Grasp and Catalyst. Like, he's just never dying.
Also, Zeka got blocked there by a grub. There's like a time...
I saw that.
I wouldn't have hit. I think it would have hit the wave instead, but it did look funny.
A little grubby getting in the way.
T1 actually building up nicely towards their early lead.
Yeah.
As there's Jonah strong zoom.
Yeah. You don't want to miss those cannons. They are a lot of money.
It's really a big problem that Jonah Strong has too many things that he's known for, because otherwise you could just call that the Jonah Strong. But you can't.
I think that's the main thing.
I don't know. His predictions are another.
Yeah.
I guess context clues might help there, but oh my god, this Nico!
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Keria's Bard last series out, looked insane. Yes, it was against DNF, but individually he was, you know, carrying on support and looking fantastic mechanically. So it feels like he's really on his game now. A lot of our top players, I feel like, had really rough beginning of the series, or rather beginning of the seasons, for all the players, but everybody's really coming online here towards the road to MSI, which you do love to see, including Keria. Bit of damage here on Zeus, who is Jax, but yeah, stun comes in, 1Q, and he's dead. Owner just easy dive, and now you've got a whole turret worth of plates given over to Doran. T1 getting massive leads here in this early game.
Yeah, they're kind of obliterating them. It's 13.5 minutes, and they're about to be up 3k gold. It's all lane. That's it. It's literally just laning pressure.
Yep.
Every single lane is winning. Even with Zeka getting the early flash out of Faker, wasn't punished whatsoever.
Yep.
and there are waves just being shoved in the turrets. There are plates being picked up across the board.
So many
Like,
plates.
look at this!
This is way too many plates. And we knew that T1, with this draft, were going to win the early game. But Humble Life, like, evened it out early, but then they have just fallen off a cliff since.
Humble Life have some of the best team fighting and skirmishing that we have in the LCK, but there are limits to how much you can kind of catch up with just being good at something when you're facing T1.
Yeah.
And it's not like their comp is bad early either. There's still Pantheon, there is the Nico and the MF, which the team fight power of those, if they can get their combo off is big. This big a gold league this early on, almost 3.3K.
You don't really see gold leagues this large, especially between two teams that should be very evenly matched.
So you will have one more, like, I think you have an opportunity to fight where right now, like, your item spikes, one item spikes are done, so are the ones on T1. You do still have a Kalista, you do still have this this Silas, but so many of the situations look like they're half health before anything has happened. As Owner hiding behind Otacon. Maybe this is the window they're looking for.
Yeah, he's just going to flash away. Good call. Peanut and Delight right there. And they had kind of snuck through vision, snuck past vision to get in there. But they get the flash out of the Pantheon. Decent amount of engaged potential taken away from T1.
Yeah, Humble want to fight. It's very obvious. And when the space is open, I do think that their target selection and single target burst is insanely big, but they do need to find an early kill.
All the one-item spikes were finished for Hanwha, so even though they're down 3,000 gold, it's really only components that are T1's ahead on.
Well, exactly. So I think the confidence makes sense, but then I look at the health bars.
Yeah.
Or rather, the lane situation for both mid and top, and they're just not in a position to really do too much.
Zayas doesn't really get to play the game. He's just sitting here against Aora trying to scale and just not really having an impact for the entire early game. This is not what Zeus is comfortable with.
No, and Well Life really look quite muted here in the early game in T1. On their end, high marks. Everyone looking to be playing very, very well. Laning pressure is there. Cole's cashed out for Guma to really add to that gold lead. All right, Doran trying to play for this turret. Might be fighting him.
All right, he's going towards the other enemies. He's buying a lot of time. The turret goes down. Owner tries to come in and save him, but Doran gets knocked up, and there you go. First kill, but now Nico, the massive ult over the top. And Guma's right there, but the damage doesn't go in. As now we got the engage coming in on Guma. He has to cleanse. He flashes, but he's not getting out of this one. Humble Life making something of this team fight. As Faker on the backside, Carrier here alone as well. Triple kill for Viper, who has been totally untouched in this fight, picks up 3.
Well, there's that team fighting, fellas. And we said, yes, there's a gold lead, but the item spikes are really not that different. And I think we see it right there. What a back and forth. And that combo looked disgusting from Carrier and Guma so much. But this is the second time I've seen this today, by the way. One of the people in that combo was a Xin Zhao, who is not taking damage. So take another look. The timing window here, attempt to punish Doran for taking this turret. Zeka has the stone node, but a lot actually goes wide. Zeka doesn't need the change, which allows Owner to show up. Then Peanut goes back in for the re-engage. But I want you to look right here. So yes, Zeus goes down, but that really is all that they got. That's 2 ultimates invested. And then Viper in all of this goes unchecked. So he gets to stack up spears. And once the fight goes long, and these big ultimates don't do what you need him to do, you have Kalista, Silas, and Xin Zhao. And if there are 3 champions that you don't want to have long fights and multiple rotations, it's those.
And Jax, eventually. Although, in this game, he's just kind of been sitting back.
He did his job there.
He got the kill, and then he died. So that's all he's going to do for now. But talking about champs that love to stick around for long fights and get multiple counter-strikes off, Jax is one of them.
Carrier.
He is in a lot of trouble. No ult available. He's just dead. Root comes down, and now the follow-up, the recommittal here from T1, trying to save their buddy. And now Humble Life are going to get another flash away from this one. Guma is probably dead here. He doesn't have flash as the bullet time. It doesn't hit, but it doesn't matter. Zeka just takes the 1v1 Hanwha. Now wiping the floor with them. They're going to take down a Rift Herald.
It's a fork right there. Either Guma walks into it or walks away from the turret. Either way, Zeka gets the kill. Losing Carrier there, it's fine. T1 though, with a desperation that I don't think is warranted, are really trying to fight. And again, this is Zinzao, Leona, Kalista. They're going to try and look for these jungle fights, these skirmishes. T1, you need a good setup. And this isn't it. So much invested there. Faker loses his flash. Guma and Carry end up going down.
The insta-cancel on that bullet time.
Look, he's in slow motion.
Yep.
That's a super soldier right there.
I mean, it's just like free food for Silas. It's an MF with no cleanse, no flash, running through the jungle, trying to catch up to the team's bad decision to go for that fight, you know?
And you know the funniest part is T1 still has a gold lead, despite all that.
It was from all the laning leads, but I don't think it matters nearly as much now. The Silas is online, the Kalista super fed, and yeah, I mean, there's a big lead in top lane.
Well, that's...
But it's a Jax.
When your back is against the wall and it all comes down to your Yorick, I think there's compositions where you... Well, there's compositions where you see that and you're like, I believe. I don't think this is one of them.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at what Hanwha have to offer, and Zeus is still really far behind. But the rest of the team is able to cover for him well, and it's crucially engaged that's there. For Hanwha Life, it's so easy for them to start fights. I also think T1 are letting them, as we saw.
It felt like Hanwha were playing into T1's hands early on, and now T1 are playing into Hanwha's hands.
Yep.
Here in the mid game. They're like, you want to take fights? We're going to blast cone into you. It's like very strange angles. I think it's just like trying to very quickly respond to Hanwha Life's engages, but that's not really the way you want to play. You want to have set up engages where you have all your ults combined together. You want to be the ones that's setting them up rather than desperately scrambling into position against all of these skirmish-heavy champions on the side of Hanwha. As we have Riftmaker already finished here for Zeka, 2 items.
Yeah.
Silas is pretty giga-huge at the moment. Not even that far ahead of Faker, but he's feeling pretty good. Already fully stacked that rod. Got it very early, so only able to hit level 15. But ahead 2 levels because of that on Faker, who hasn't finished his.
Faker, though, going to get more relative value.
True.
Because he gets a later level. Right now, I think he just preferred to not be behind Zeka, because you can see he needs to play it very respectful. Wants to get a grasp, but I don't think he's going to get one. And the lead that Guma had over Viper is now all but evaporated. And I want to highlight something. I think that our perception of Kalista, or Kalista as a late game AD, or as an early game AD carry, I don't think it's true anymore. I feel like with the build that she's going for, right, where you get with Terminus and Jaxos, you actually get so tanky that it becomes more about the length of a fight and the skill of the player, as opposed to you need to win early and post 2 items. It's like kind of whatever. Right, I feel like Kalista really used to be, you need to stomp lane, and then once lane is stomped, you have value, and otherwise you kind of taper off. I just don't really see it that way anymore, particularly when you itemize well into the damage that thus far T1 haven't really been able to find, as Hullbreaker done 2 item spikes are there for T1. And this Drake fight is a possible soul. We haven't even talked about the mountain as the TP comes in from Zeka as well.
All right, they really want to fight for this one, but the Drake is already gone. And okay, it's gone.
That was anticlimactic.
We're like building up to this, and then T1 just, yeah.
They get mid turret, which is nice, but soul point.
There's a Rift Herald in bot lane.
Have.
Did you see Peanut summon it in the bottom river?
It is there.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be there for a lot longer.
Yeah, probably not.
Says, take it and drive mid, maybe?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you heard me.
You're on to something.
Well, there are like 5 T1
that.
players, so maybe just leave. Yeah, he's just leaving. That's better. Unless...
He's rotating.
Yeah. Whoop.
Back to bot lane for you.
Yeah, back to the wave.
Turret in top lane.
That's all Zeus, by the way. He drew attention.
Yeah. He drove attention.
So still...
Get it? Because he drove.
Because he drove the... Yeah,
yeah,
that was mine.
But you said he drew.
Yeah, I know. But I felt it was implied because of the driving.
He drove viewership to the...
What's T1 Hanwha? I don't think they need help with the viewership, Valdez.
Probably not.
I think they're fine when it comes to that.
Still a very even game.
It is.
I think that Halma's comp actually will very much enjoy the Ocean Soul.
Yeah, no, that's because they already will have so much tankiness, and I think eventually we're going to obviously reach a point where Guma and Faker are going to have a pretty decent amount of being able to, but like even then, even with Death Cap and Void Staff, if they get Ocean Soul and like Silas ever gets to hit anyone,
yeah,
good luck.
It's an issue.
He's not dying easily.
Some context for the graphic we just showed. Faker is on 9 stacks of his rod, so he's about to hit level 16. I think we're not having a lot of action now. We wanted to show something, but that's really the situation.
Flash.
Doran, yeah, I think he just doesn't do it now. There's just way too much rotation over here. 4 people kind of angling down there, so it's still a win for Hanwha to take him down. There's no objective up here except the Otacon, but they're not quick enough to start that one up.
Don't want to risk it. Zayas still has his TP available. Good call by Doran. I think he was contemplating it, but he would have flashed into the light. So there's just no world where he ever gets out. So oversteps his bounds. And I'm pretty sure that kill also went to Zayas. And I feel like we're slowly starting to feel the tilt of that matchup. As now Zayas is going for a Zhonya's next, which is going to give him a lot of offensive power. Allows him to play way more aggressive. Yep.
And by tilt, you mean it's tilting towards the Jax as he gets more fed.
I'm not saying...
Not that one of the players is getting
I'm not
tilted.
saying that either player is tilted.
I just think our gamers might, misinterpret that.
Well, it's
they hear the word tilt and they're like, oh, who's tilted?
No, I would say it's skew, but I feel like tilt is more accessible.
Yeah.
Who says it's skew?
Lawyers.
Ugh, this guy's
the worst. Yeah. Well, it's definitely one of these chess matches, as we had the one big fight in bot, but after that it's been sitting back.
This is a thinking's man's LCK. This is the kind of LCK game you can be really smug about. It's like, oh yeah, no, my league.
I understand.
Plays
you wouldn't get it.
Deeper. We are already planning 5 waves ahead. You know, none of this is not planned, which is why nothing's happening. I was told that adding objectives would make this better, Feldes.
Yeah, we added grubs, and then we took the grubs away. We made them whatever they are now. That's not the only reason.
They're fine. Oh, possible collapse. I say, as no collapse comes through.
He did hit him with the laser.
He did. A little Leandri's burn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of damage.
Yeah. So is it just one team fight for Ocean Soul, and then whoever wins that fight gets Baron and the game is over? Is that?
Yeah, and Otacon. Don't forget.
So who do we like more? Who you looking to? I'm seeing a Terminus for Viper. I'm seeing 2 stopwatches. Well, arm guards, but
I just feel like the setup for the fight is everything. If Hanwha make it scrappy, they're gonna win like 99 out of 100 times.
If T1 don't have control of the choke points and force Hanwha to walk through one, it'll be really hard for them to actually get full value out of this combo. And again, if they had the 4K gold lead that they had, by the way, that they worked very hard for it to get, like, Hanwha can't just walk up to this dragon and set up shop. But here we are.
They're walking up to the dragon and setting up shop because the gold is even, Chronicler. A good point made. And I just...
Oh, did they just get it?
I don't know. I mean, they're starting it, but they're apprehensive about it. Owner is here.
Flanking Yorick.
We've seen this work for other teams. Not sure about in this scenario, as the Maiden is bye-bye. It's another 50 gold over to Zeus.
Zaka doesn't have an ultimate yet. I think he's going to be looking for Carryouts if he can find it.
Doran's just pushing.
Or Fakers.
Wants to go for the engage. Is Faker just going to go golden, and now Delight maybe in a bit of an issue as everybody gets knocked up by the Nico, but the counter Nico comes in. They get onto that back line as Carrier the first to go down. Guma's already out of the fight, as will go down Owner, and it's just a disaster. T1, they set it up, and Homalife knock it down as they do not get the soul, but they get a massive team fight, and now they're going to get the top objectives.
That's a world champion right there, Zeka with the Silas. I thought that Nico Engage had done it. They get the dragon, deny the ocean, and then carry a flash multi-man ult. And it's still not enough. As we take another look at this fight, the light goes in, but this at first looks a little disjointed. And then watch this. Boom. Immediately, Faker not in a position to do any damage. Guma taken out of the fight. And then Doran, he's just a Yorick, man.
Yeah.
He's just a Yorick by himself. Can't get through. That's Nash. And yes, the soul wasn't given. I don't think Humble Life are going to be feeling too bad about it.
I think they're okay with it. They get Nash, they'll probably get Otacon if they want to prioritize that, but maybe they just want to extend their gold lead instead and not try to throw on that objective. It was an interesting fight because both AD carries were pushed out pretty early on, but again, just the skirmish power of the Sylas, the Xin Zhao, the Jax, like those were all unchecked. So even though they went super deep to kill Viper, like they just have so many other threats. And
I can't believe Viper hasn't died yet. I swear, I've seen him die like he's gone so deep. That feels wrong, right? Or sorry, Delight.
Like he's died twice.
No, Delight.
Yeah. That makes more sense. And now Zeus doesn't really... I mean, Doran's going to keep going on this, but it's getting close. You can feel like Zeus is getting close to the point where he's just going to begin to take over the side lane. New York's still going to be strong, but...
We're going to TP back to the wave. I mean, I don't think he should, because you want to really keep it available in case T1 find a collapse towards top side.
He just got his Zonias. Otacon
We
picked up
forgot
here.
about Otacon.
I didn't.
Well, I did. Kind of just assumed that that was already gone.
It's just they use this Baron to take Otacon, and now they still have a minute 30 left on the Baron, so they can just push top and mid carefully.
It is not a game-breaking Baron, though, nor is the team fight. I think T1 from this position obviously are going to be in a really rough spot. And the main issue for me is that it feels like Faker has been stuck at these items for like, what, 10 minutes now? I swear, he got his Rod of Ages and his Leandri's really fast.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I think for them to actually chew through all these health bars on Humble Life, because these are some beefy targets. Literally no one is squishy. Like, there's no easy damage that you can find.
Yeah.
I think you really need Fort Stuff. You really need Death Cap. You need some actual damage to chew through these people. Guma, for example, because of the Executioner.
Or not an MF.
Will help a little. Well, that also, obviously, is part of the problem. Yeah, and then Owner tried his best in the early game, 100% kill participation, but at this point, you are Pantheon.
All right, they're going to try for something here, but Carrier doesn't find the angle, and Fate's Call comes through. It's kind of a broken engage from T1, and there's still 30 seconds of Baron. So they have this wave. They take down the turret anyway, and that's some tools taken away from the T1 side. Zeus not yet in a position where he can threaten a kill. In fact, he is getting pushed off of the wave, so not really getting value out of the side push of the Jax. And we're following Guma here. Looks like he got a Dirk, but nothing big at this point.
Jack Show's approaching. The goal lead for Zaka just keeps getting bigger. Peanut, he's just sacrificing his camp. And I'm happy to see awake Peanut again. I feel like he was gone for a decent amount of time. He's playing.
He was on vacation.
Yeah.
He was hanging out.
Humble Life does do that. But, you know, that's one of those things that you can say, and either it can be cope if they then lock in the next series, or they just lose and you're like, okay, yeah, no, there's an issue.
Everything we said on the POG stage is coming true.
Yep.
If Humble Life lock in, if Peanut's on his game, they should take it. Peanut is running into 4 people, and the ult here from Carrier only hits the Xin Zhao, who does not care. Peanut doesn't care, even if he dies. As now they get to the back line, and Kuma's ult does absolutely nothing, just dies immediately. Baker's got a good angle under the turret, but he doesn't have any teammates. As they're dying the turret. They're just tanking the turret. And everybody seems to have his on as everybody's going golden. And Baker just doesn't do any damage. He's dead. Humble Life stomp the fight, and maybe they take the game right here.
That's a red side win as well. It's Humble Life. Yes, they fell behind. But those team fights, man, they are just something else. The early skirmishes, we saw the signs. And Hanwha will be able to end this game. Carrier's trying to clear the wave as best as he can, but nah, there's just no chance.
Not having enough pull. They turn and take the kill first, and then they will kill the enemy Nexus. Humble Life, very nicely played game. They got down 4,000 gold in the laning phase, and it still didn't matter because they were just the better team fighting team with the better team fighting comp. and they made it work. T1 will have to go back to the drawing board and figure it out because that game was not a good look.
And as much credit as there was for, I think, everyone of T1 in laning phase, I also feel like after that, everyone kind of dropped the ball, right? Carrier, a lot of engages that looked good, and I think his deaths are the most understandable because he's the support, that's his job. But Faker lacking any impact out of the lane. Guma, I think this is a really hard game to play, but even then, felt like with that lead, we need to hold on to those, or at least T1 does, if they want to actually threaten Hanwha live. Because once we got to the fights, and Hanwha got the skirmish with their Sylas and their Kalista, it didn't even look remotely close. Like, look at the moment, about like 15, 16 minutes in hindsight, that's where the grasp of T1 on the game ended.
Yeah.
And Hanwha started running the Rift.
Yeah, it was that one team fighting bot where, they collapsed on a door and he tried to escape and T1 tried to turn the fight around, but it was just one of those broken up fights that Humble Life Esports' comp just loved. And they were able to play it out from there very nicely and control the entire game from about 15 minutes. Humble Life get a win on the red side. They're up 1-0 in this very important series, looking to secure second place. Will they do it? Let's find out after the break.
태연이 맞으면 위지면 여기 니코 저기 판테 나 가야죠. 나 괜찮아.
어때? 싸움하는 거 어때?
싸움하는 거 어때?
맞아. 니코 미포 너플 미포 봐. 코 보고 있어 나. 미포 봐줘. 맛있게. 미포 도플.
나 살았고. 야 판테온 너플.
받을래?
뒤에 판테온이야. 안 빨려도 돼.
빅토르 좋냐야? 해도. 오케이. 빅토르 좋냐야?
뒤에 판테온 너플이야.
나 뺄 수 있어.
판테온 잡아. 판테 너플.
무대 빼는 게 좋고.
갈래. 가져.
미드 가면
될것 같은데? 미드 텔 찍어줄래?
Plate of burrata, or like tomatoes, like fresh out of the garden with some salt and olive oil and pepper.
Like caprese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
You're impressed, I know that word, right?
Well, I kind of am, yeah. It kind of caught me off guard there, Veldas. Culinary deaths in my LCK?
My knowledge goes deeper than you can imagine.
Yes.
Through your tutelage.
Oh.
So are we just going to see the same? No, not. Jace ban.
So, feels like T1 were happy to leave the Jace open when the
first
Yorick
Gwen
was there.
Is probably being looked at here. Gwen a Rumble. So maybe Humble leave both up.
Yeah. And then I think...
Or not.
Okay, so Doran's going to go towards the Gwen.
The Rumble, you mean.
Sorry, the Rumble. Gwen band. And then Zeus... Well, the Galio is an obvious one. We've seen the Aurora pick come through as well. But the Rumble does feel like a necessity. I think the Yorick pick was fine. I know Doran has had great games on it. But I do think against a team like Hanwha, if you want to be able to out-team fight them, you need a pick that can actually team fight. Because that's where Doran's strengths lie, right? We saw him with a big gold lead here in the lane early on. And part of that was just his laning on the Yorick, which was great. Part of that was the fact that T1 was kind of running Hanwha Life around and able to build pretty substantial leads as Going through a lot, only to lock in the Neferi. And then I would expect Humble Life to try and look for a counter pick for top and keep hidden what Zeka is playing. Faker, unfortunately, not having really any big impact in the previous game. This specific combo we've seen a bunch of times. You have the point and click CC for Neferi, which she does enjoy.
Yeah. And the Rise, you can go either lane. Probably going mid. Ahri, okay.
Okay. Yeah, Neferi Ahri is a strong combo.
Yeah.
Because if you go Rise, maybe you end up playing into like, what is it, Nocturne Orianna?
Yeah, they're really choking out Faker's champion pool as well.
Yep.
Because Victor's gone, Azir's banned, Yone's banned, Ahri's taken away. So what is Faker going to play?
So it's
We're not going to see it yet.
Guma Senna. Now, I wouldn't have minded a Poppy pickup. I'm like double checking. I feel like the champion is going somewhat underrated here. Owner is an insane Poppy.
I love Poppy.
Not going to come through. This is just like, oh man.
He looks so
I have
unimpressed.
To play Ornn. You got the Jax game, buddy.
I
Come
don't
on.
want to play Ornn.
Ornn's
Can I play
boring. Can I play? And Dandy's just like, no. Lock in Ornn.
Maybe it's Ornn support. It's definitely not Ornn support. So yeah, what are we going to have here for the bans against Faker and Owner? I mean, I still feel like there's a decent amount left in the jungle, but the big ones, like the Wukongs of the world, you definitely have to take those away.
Wukong Skarner, maybe? I don't love Skarner, but I think Skarner with Senna and a Rumble can definitely get a good amount of value. Picking the Ornn here also has the benefit that you don't need to be afraid of a Braum, right? Because Carry has already locked in the Alistar. Trundle also, that's a really good ban, actually. Trying to play Ornn into Trundle is not fun. Not a good time.
Yeah.
Not going to be the case.
Trundle Senna too. I mean, your front line is insane. You have tons of healing, tons of zone control. So they take that away. A lot of targets towards Owner. I guess they feel pretty comfortable with whatever Faker's going to play from what's left.
I swear, if we end up with like a Viego, I'm ready to call it. If we pick Viego with this comp, I am not a believer. Now, is it going to be something aggressive? The Lucian did get banned away, which I think is a great call from the T1 bot lane. There are two schools of thought. Either you can match the scaling,
Varus is
or you can play...
up.
I think the issue with Varus, unless you really commit to playing aggressively for the lane, is that... Yeah, I was looking towards this.
Okay.
This is something we've been seeing into the Senna, and the big benefit is that while Senna's sustain in early lanes is great, and it's hard to really bully her out, you get the stack for free for a very long amount of time. Really, if the nameplates were off, I see this, I'd be like, that's Gen G. That's a Gen G draft. Although I guess the Smolder would be most likely going mid as Faker. Thinking about his champion pool.
Galio makes sense.
But like Galio Kindred?
You need some damage, though. I mean, you have the Rumble, so it's definitely shored up a bit.
It can't be AP, so like, what, Kindred,
Viego.
Nocturne? I don't think this is a Viego comp, though.
But what does Owner want to play?
Well, we're about to find out. Talon?
Talon. Kindred.
Well, I think Kindred.
Zed?
Zed. You gotta do something like that.
Master Yi?
Okay, we're not gonna.
Briar?
Okay, we're carry us trolling,
Kindred,
guys.
okay.
Kindred. That makes sense. Kindred Galio. A lot of healing.
We just saw this.
We did. Yeah.
This feels like a better comp, though.
Yes.
What we saw.
I do quite like this. I think the Kindred Galio combo is one that's very strong. Senna also gives you the added benefit of you can use the Kindred ult and then use the Senna ult on top.
There it is.
Oh my god, that
Poppy.
is... So I really like the Poppy here. I think Poppy just feels like a smash hit. It makes Galio's play pattern a lot harder for him to reliably get. It is good into Alistar. And then it also just... Kindred as a champion is just invalidated kind of by it, because you can knock her out of her ult and knock other people out of the ult. You have the ability to not let her Q, which is a pretty big deal, and you have great point and click CC. So locking her down, slamming her into a wall, gives you a lot of opportunities. Now the obvious issue for Humble Life is that these are two separate compositions. We have Neferi and Ahri, and Poppy kind of does both, which is one plan. Let's go in, go aggressive.
Yeah.
And they have to be the bridge where Viper will carry you to the promised land. Because with this front line, that engaged power, I think Smolder's going to have a great old time.
Yeah, I think this is one that's going to go a pretty long distance, this game. Unless someone gets a big early lead and they're able to snowball, I would expect this one to take quite a while. You got Senna versus Smolder. You've got an Ornn in the game. And yeah, you know, Ari and Nefiri are there, as you mentioned, but they're not. That's not the comp. They're just there as a powerful duo that gets you towards the late game. But then T1 also have a large amount of scaling in their own right, with the Kindred, with the Senna, and even the Rumble. I do think that this is going to be a very close one, and one that should go a while, this game number 2. And maybe gives T1 a better chance of coming back in the series. Let's see what actually happens as we are ready. Let's hop into the rift for game number 2.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
Game number 2 already here on the card. Summer Life. It wasn't one-sided, but once they got going, it was one-sided. Like, the entire game wasn't one-sided, but it definitely felt like a solid victory for Life Esports after the first 15 minutes. Once they took that first team fight, it kind of felt over from there. They snowballed very well. Let's see what this game looks like. They can pull off the same.
Should be able to get the ward, which is nice.
Nope.
Oh, never mind. Just not in time. I feel like if Zay's stuck around, they could have. Not going to be the case. So Peanut will be tracked here early on. We have double barrier for the 80 carries. Both trying to be as respectful as possible. No electrocute proc there for Zeka, it looks like, which Shaker's going to be happy about. And the gold lead was in favor of Faker, and I think in early to mid game he did also have mostly of lane prio, but even then going things like an unforced error that got the flash out of him early on, and the complete lack of impact to Victor. When part of that was the gold lead, part of that was the build. Didn't really feel like he could contribute a lot. And the Galio, I do think it's a lot easier to have that impact as we have the level 1 terror of Alistair. Was knocking the light away. Been seeing this a lot more recently as both these 80 carries have a single thing on their mind, and that's stacks. That's all they care about. And the sustain is obviously going to be favored towards the Senna, but Viper is going to rapidly accelerate once he hits the certain breakpoints. I haven't seen Smolder in a while. You know, that's yeah, he's really on multiple levels.
Yeah. Not just scaling, but scalesing. As, yeah, I mean, this lane is going to look like this, right? They're going to get stacks, Skuma's going to attack them, get souls, Viper's going to attack them, get...
Yeah, so that's not good. That is, if Faker gets another very early back forced, in a matchup...
the charm, he has to flash. Would have died if he didn't flash. And already, Zeka is winning this lane once again.
He hasn't even brought out the eye drops yet. This is not even his final form!
That's true. Zeka hasn't needed the eye drops yet, as far as we can tell.
Those only come out for like game 4. And there will be no game 4 in this series.
No.
Just take, okay, Zeka, come on, I'm trying to...
It's why Hamlar is such a... Oh, another charm. Nice punch by Faker, but again, it's basically just trying to stay alive. Like, he's not winning.
Yeah.
He's just, okay, I'm not dead. Like, but I'm still falling behind on CS.
Mark is on the southern part of the rift. Should be hard to
Mark's not in this game, actually. He plays for DNF. But it's a good point. There was a Pyoshik on the bottom side of the rift, which Peanut did deny. And Owner's looking for the dive in the top lane. Chronicler's very angry with me. Double knock-up as T1 just jump into it. Thorin takes double turret shots. The TP takes about 8 years, so they're okay.
Yeah.
But that was one of the messiest dives I've seen in a while.
I don't know about that TP, but it does mean that Zay stays alive. I really do think that with that outplay, he would have been fine. And the wave is going to be lost. It looks like, I think Peanut is able to pick up most of it, so that's something at least. Not going fully by the wayside. Does mean that Faker now builds an experience lead over Zeka. So Zeka...
like almost a hard freeze. So it's going to force a TP out of Zeus, who...
I think it's Ornn. I think he's okay.
I think he's okay. Okay, he's going to flash.
Yeah, so he tried to predict it, because obviously with the W you can prevent it, and then he was just like, yeah, no, I don't need to flash. Which was correct. He does. He did need to. Is he just still... I was about to say... I don't know if Guma hits the
He's a
W.
tank and a warlock. You can't stop him.
Yeah, maybe if he got a kill earlier there. You know, he got the kill top and then he TPs and he's like, I have 15 ruby crystals. You can't kill me.
It's a lot of crystals.
A lot of crystals. No flash on Faker.
Okay, nice Justice Punch. Not much that Delight can do. And that is going to be Zeka down his flash. But he's Ahri, so I still like making the play, you know, chunking out Faker, trying to extend your lead in the mid lane. Especially against a Galio who's supposed to be pretty safe into this lane. But not in this game.
Still waiting. But there's no flash anymore. Zeka, not that close to level 6. Delight doesn't have Hex Slash either. I think they're trying again.
I mean, with Ignite and Flash, like, if Delight hits him into a wall, then yeah, he's dead. Speaking of which, Faker walks up, and the exact thing that I just said comes to life. As for some reason, Faker just didn't think it was possible. But as we knew, it was very possible. And that is going to be first blood given over to Zeka.
I'm vexed. And I know Vex isn't in this game, but I am still vexed, Valdez.
Good job getting ahead of that. That was
I know. I knew that joke was coming. That was definitely imminent. This is one of those plays where if you have flash, you cannot play that, right? Like there's an angle where you flash and the Poppy ends up just dying. So then I would be like, okay, if you try to play for that, it doesn't work, that's fine. But you didn't have flash. It was right in front of you. And you literally give him the angle.
It's just not respecting the Poppy.
나이스, 잘 봤다잉. 역시 완중이.
Good roam.
잘하네.
That's Delight. You're pretty good.
He is.
Gotta gas up the teammates, you know.
Did we
even though Zeka didn't show a lot of emotion, that's fine. Peanut is going to be in a lot of trouble here. As he does not have flash anymore. Trying to give this kill over to Doran maybe, but one more wins a war and he does go down. Okay, trying to go untargetable once again as Ingo's Faker, and finally they take him down. Owner picks up the mark, as it looks like that's what they wanted by the end of it all.
Is that worth it? Like, I know we got the mark. You'll get to 2 marks now because it always picks up. But they got Dragon. And, like, you have to invest a TP in 2 flashes?
Probably not worth it.
I mean, I guess it's fine, but I don't think you're excited about it. You know, it's one of those deals that's good, but you're not immediately going to go like, okay, I gotta put that in my basket right now.
One of the most mediocre trade deals of all time.
As a stack check, Guma, as he should, going to be relatively behind. I've heard like different opinions of what is a good breakpoint for...
What is the ratio?
So what I heard,
expecting?
Like, anywhere upwards of 60 is good, at around 20. Because obviously you're going to get less souls, we have more items, so kind of offsets what we used to go for, which was with the Fasting Senna, where if you don't have like 120 souls at 25 minutes, you're just a pleb. You know, that's just no good. Zeka is just getting further ahead in this middle lane.
He also has a Dark Seal.
This was a counter pick, Valdez.
Yeah. I mean, this is what we talked about in the draft. Like, there were a lot of Faker's big picks just denied. Like, no Talia, Yone, Victor, Azir, and Ahri was taken away. So, went to the Galio, and now he is the lane that is farthest behind. Definitely not the best feeling for Faker in this one. Viper is living his best life. You know, Aguma's moving around. He's like trying to help on objectives and stuff. Viper's
not
like,
interacting.
You know what I do? I attack the minions, and I use my skills on the enemies, and then I back, and then I do it again. I'll see you at 225.
When he becomes a real champion. Yeah, no, Humble Life, they have a slight gold lead. I can assure you, I know there's a Sen on the enemy team. I know it's a Kindred on the enemy team. Humble Life will be very happy to play to late with this composition. Funnily enough, you could argue that when it comes to the range, the fact that if you get enough marks on Kindred, mostly the Senna, is gonna reach a point where she's a big issue. I also do think that ever since they did all the rounds of nerfs to Smolder, Senna is one of the few champions where your healing can actually be really annoying for him to deal with his burn, and you can kind of negate some of the value there. At the same time, I don't think we've had versions of Senna in the past. Remember when her heals skilled with lethality, where you could really... That was a thing. Yeah. They removed that, I think, on the most recent set of changes to her. Not the one that changed the souls, but before that, I mean the soul change. We've had, what, 15
Which
million?
one?
It always happens, and then she becomes meta, and then at some point they're like, okay,
We've had enough Senna. Let's.
And then
goodbye.
Just turn the knob, go down this, and then she's gone. This goes away again.
And then inevitably they're like, you know what? We haven't seen Senna in a while.
Seen her in a while.
Maybe she needs a buff.
I do like that this is 80 Senna, because I feel like that has a different flavor than Fasting Senna. The downside is that Fasting Senna creates way more fun, because the supports can be anything.
True.
We've
seen also. That is one of the options.
Yeah.
Seen Rumble,
He's
Kong,
halfway there.
He's in.
That's good.
All sorts of fun stuff.
Now the Drake fight in about a minute. With the early Drake, I think you're perfectly happy as Humble Life to not take it. So the big break points, as you highlighted, for Viper it's stacks, you want to get to 225. And for Zeus it's levels. Once you start giving out your ornaments to level 13, you get your own, and starting level 14, you can give them to other people. That's kind of when the Ornn goes from just being pretty good to being such a insanely deceptively gold skewing champion, where every upgrade is it's like around 1,000 gold.
Yeah.
So it snowballs very quickly.
The numbers are pretty ridiculous.
They really are. And now you can also just pick whichever item you like.
I forget which item it is, but I was watching the game with Ox on the space, and some item was giving just straight up 700 health.
That's insane.
It's like, oh, just one item giving that much. Oh, this seems very strong.
And it must not have been Warmox, because then you would have remembered. No. Yeah.
Might have been I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, come on. Boom.
He
So
did it.
satisfying.
That's the game. Viper's always been one of our best Smolder stackers. If you remember, I think he had the record for fastest stacks, which was 1745 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was never the mid-Smolders, because you have only a single champion that you can reliably hit. Now the Drake, Humble Life cannot fight for this, but they also have Nefiri and Ahri, so knowing them, might be looking towards it. Zeka's nowhere near though, and Faker obviously will not have prio, but he does have his ultimate, as Zeka is just on his way.
Just walking.
Yeah, I thought that...
Faker gets there first, I think, with his ult.
It's pretty close. Zeka can also use the first instance of his ult. I think they're going to arrive around the same time. If Humble Life played a little slow.
Well, there's the equalizer. It's a good one, but the Poppy ult is even better as they go all in onto one target. Down goes Owner, and the smite goes the way of Peanut, and now this is really rough times for the side of T1 as in goes Peanut, but there's no damage follow-up, and Zeka still on the chase. He's going to hit the charm again, as there you go. Another kill goes over to Zeka, and already the snowball is beginning for Humble Life Esports.
They have Ornn and Smolder! They have Ornn and Smolder!
Ornn and Smolder. Don't forget the bridge.
All right.
The Ahri Nefiri.
Again, yeah, and the real bridge there was Poppy. The one thing that you can't have happen, and we've seen it with 2 Kindreds in a row now. You can't be the first to die.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And Owner, it's understandable because he really wants to try and play for a steal, which I get. There's also the fact that Zeka is indeed earlier here. And Carrier gets knocked away as he uses his ult. And then Delight. Oh my god, man. The fact he removes their main initiation, he then ensures that they also kill the one target that can stall until Galio gets there.
Yeah.
And because imagine this scenario. Carrier, either flashes or doesn't get hit by the ultimate. Then he gets to create space. They do get on top of Owner, but Owner, because of Carrier stalling, gets to use his ult. Then Faker comes in, Guma lays an ult on top. It might be okay. Instead, the game is not over. But after seeing how last game went, Plus the fact that Humble Life's team fighting has just been so much better. Plus the fact that they have I can't state they have Ornn and Smolder.
Or Smolder.
There are champions where, because I still think again the T1 comp skills just fine. There are great parts of scaling there. I just don't see it comparatively to what's across the Rift.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see the angles.
I don't want to accept it, Valdez, because I don't want to live with reality. Oh.
We need to see more Poppy. As Dorn is going to flash out of this one, he should
how
be
was
okay.
that an R5 pick, by the way?
I don't know. It was just totally ignored. We wanted to see, you and I wanted to see it in game 1.
We have 4 players on the Rift that can single-handedly win games with Poppy. Because I've seen all 4 of them do it!
All 4 of them can do it, yeah.
Both junglers, both supports.
And it's just ignored until the very end when it was amazing. Into T1's comp, they're like, huh, what's the oh yeah, Poppy. Huh, she deserves more respect.
Okay, T1, Doran TPing in, level 11, does have the equalizer, level 2. Poke is good here.
Yeah, I mean, they're zoning them away.
Nice.
Doesn't really look like Kalmar is set up for contesting this very well. So that is going to be the Rift Herald going over to T1. It is an Ornn getting some free time at the bottom lane. Just importantly, going to get those levels we keep talking about.
One of my biggest pet peeves with Ornn is when they do exactly that. When they're like, oh, he's a tank, we got to just wait. At least let him hit level 14. Then he can start grouping. You know, like, give a buff to whoever is your most fed member. In this case, probably Zeka. You know, really try and use that spike that he's on. Smolder will be big anyway. You can give it to him later on. But you need to hit those breakpoints, because if you start grouping now, it's fine if you win the fights, but lose a single fight and then you have 0 pressure at any point. And now, instead, we're looking at a world where Zeus just has a pretty sizable gold lead on Ornn. And that's not really, like, that's not delaning. That's just Humble Life's team play. It's also Inferno, which we haven't talked about yet. That would solve a lot, really, that, now I think about it, would solve a lot of T1's issues.
Yeah, but they don't have the power yet to fight over these objectives. Like, the Ahri's way too strong. The setup for Humble Life is so fantastic. Like, T1 kind of have to be set up on the objective and not get Poppy ulted away somehow. Then they have to find access to the Smolder. I don't see it from this stage of the game. I really don't.
Trying to find an angle here, Valdez. I know that the bridge, you know, Peanut Zeka, bridge, that's a strong bridge. I don't know enough about... I don't know enough about engineering to really make any comments as to what type of bridge it is. I don't know what the best bridge is. If only.
From that game that Faker used to play on Steam, probably the one with a lot of triangles.
It's always triangles.
It's always triangles.
It's always triangles in engineering. Did you ever do that experiment where you need to, like, build a bridge? Yeah, that's a classic.
It was like a tower.
Yeah,
so you had to, like, hold a weight.
Yeah, stand on top of it. Yeah, that's fun.
Well, I wouldn't stand on it, but...
Trying.
Maybe standards in the US not quite as...
well, you can
not quite as high.
It's fine.
Carrier looking for an angle here on a Zek. I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I do have the Herald.
He's getting some good positioning.
Zeka and Delight playing very respectful here, going to take down the Rift. Carrier, if they can get in on someone, Peanut, that's in the theory though.
Yeah, it's not a real target. Now the TP's behind them. Zeus, he is an Ornn. I don't really think they can kill him, but a double knockup comes in. He flashes out of the Galio. They're still showing a lot of respect to Humble Life. Not going full on in. If that were B&K, they're diving into that jungle.
Oh, they're just giving it up.
Yeah, they're just going to give up the Drake. They set up on it, but it didn't look good afterwards. And they used their Galio ults.
They used 2 ultimates.
The Alistar ult, and they just leave.
Without Galio, they would try. No shot you try without the Alistar ult.
Yeah. Delayed still has his.
So that's soul point for Ornn and Smolder. 18 minutes. I just keep repeating myself, but nothing else is happening.
Are we gonna get the return of Doomer Chronicler?
No,
it's such a rare skin.
That was dark times. we're not going back to that.
It was today.
We're not going back to that.
It happened earlier.
Valdez, I am a different man now.
He's
changed.
changed.
I've changed. I've given up that
He's come
life.
to terms with everything. Yeah, that's fair. We'll take a look at the CS numbers. 2 AD carries are doing well. 2 mid laners doing well. Just everything you'd expect, really. I mean, the CS differences aren't real.
This isn't what I was promised
in this game.
Valdez. I was
The first 15 minutes of game 1, though, that was good.
They were that was bad.
Where it was
yeah.
like, oh, T1 are getting some lane leads. They need this. It's going to be like a close
Yeah.
mid-game. And then Homalife took out their giant red hammer and bopped them over the head. Well, I guess it's more of an orange.
It would be like an orange
Tank.
squishy hammer. It has to be Peanut, right? Peanut
It's like a
the-
tank plushie
it's
that
like-
squeaks when you squeeze
It's
it.
like it's Peanut or Delight, the one that wields the giant cartoon hammer.
Yeah.
Because it's not Viper. Viper's
No.
Viper's too no nonsense. he's the straight man. You know, in the
It's a lot
comedy,
more finesse.
where there's one guy that's just normal, that's Viper.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is kind
He
of.
keeps it all together.
He keeps it all together.
We can't have 5 zany
He is
characters
the
in the show.
audience stand-in.
Yeah.
Zeus, you only see like, I don't know, every other like 5 episodes because he's just off on his own adventures. He's the crazy
Zeus
uncle.
is Kramer from Seinfeld.
No, Zeus just shows up
What's going on, guys?
at some point and he's like, "What up?"
Yeah, exactly.
And
Shows up at the weirdest times,
for T1,
says the craziest things.
I need this to not be a tragedy. I need this to be a free gamer. The gold is fine.
I mean, it's, yeah.
So the craziest thing to me is there is still a world where if they can get on top of Viper at the beginning of a fight and blow him up, where it's playable.
With Alistair?
Well, and Poppy and Ornn, I know, that's not... I'm grasping at straws here, fellas, but give me this. Give me something.
I feel like we should have seen this coming. I mean, we knew... We saw the draft and we were like...
It's just a single mistake. Just one in that blue box. Okay, it's not the in that
I feel like the
box.
second the Poppy was locked in,
Well,
I was kind of like, all right, well,
Well, my main
thought it was a
issue
6 gamer, but
once again, there are teams that I would expect to not have the discipline to play this out and give openings like the one we're talking about. But outside of Hanwha, the only other team that's more disciplined, I'd argue the world is Gen G. I don't think any other team, when it comes to playing out games for
Yeah.
positions like this, is quite as slow and steady.
yeah,
Oh
he's
my God, he's
for
going
it.
in!
The charm is going to miss, but it doesn't matter. He's so tanky. He's Ari. Look at his door. He's just dead. It's just a one-on-one solo bolo from Zeka. And
It's
yeah,
cooked.
Faker,
It's
you
I'm
can't
no,
flash with the taunt anymore.
No.
Oh, not Doomer Chronicler.
It's done. It's done. Oh?
Okay, he's just unlocking Hex Flash. He doesn't have Hex Flash. He is going to knock away.
It's not done. We're
That's
so
Poppy
back.
ultimate down. But guess what, guys? There's no objective outside of the Otacon. Now they're going to engage, though, onto Peanut.
Yeah!
He's dead. He won. Looking for the objective. Zeka still here.
No Doomer Chronicler, baby. Let's go. They got Otacon.
We might have a little series.
They're getting big backs. They are coming back and fighting for that soul point. Don't look at smolder stacks.
No, not important.
Don't do it.
Not important.
Faker, stop giving him more stacks.
It's okay. He stopped him at 224.
It wouldn't have mattered, right? Like, he's going to hit it anyway. I know. We're playing it up.
It's okay, Doomer Chronicler. We'll make it through this together.
He's not real.
They're just going for the mid turret, and Kerry is not. Yeah, he's not going to do anything about that. No Demolish proc. Yes, Demolish proc. They will get it. And yeah, we just go back to sitting back and waiting. Some nice picks from T1. Nice pick here from Zeka too. Starts off with the charm.
It's a level up. That's the Electrocute proc. Full Foxfire. And then Doran lashes when the charm wasn't going to hit. I don't know, nothing to say. Just got straight up outplayed, right? Too far up the lane, gets taken down. The Peanut, no idea what he was doing. They have a little bit of
I have a
vision.
theory. I can press W.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's taken down. And that means the Otacon goes over to T1. Now 2 items done for Guma. 2 items done for Owner. No second item for Doran yet, though. That would have been really big. And yep, there it is.
It begins. So 15 petals.
Oh, Zeus also level 14.
Trying to collapse here on a Faker, it looks like, who is just going to run into the river. Looks like he is okay. And they just want to set up position here on this Dragon, of course. Homalife Esports looking for that Infernal Soul.
Viper just wants to queue people.
He's trying his best.
Oh my God. Well, Guma can heal it at least, but more of that poke hits, they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, Zeus not really able to make his way in. Equalizer now going to do a little bit of damage. More of a zoning equalizer than anything else.
A little bit.
Yeah, Zeus did walk back over it. Faker in a rough spot, but he will be okay. In goes Zeka, though. Gonna get the charm here on Owner. Nice amount of poke from them. Even the Smolder helping out of that. And now they just turn on Naguma and Doran, who are left out to dry by the team as everybody else was running away. That's gonna be that early pick. Charm not gonna hit Fear from Zeka, but you know what is really gonna hit hard? Orange Smolder with Infernal Soul at 25 minutes into the game.
I'm done coping. No more cope.
Doomer Chronicler's back.
This game is done. Owner doesn't even have his 4th mark yet. That's the 3rd one on that scuttle.
Oh.
As the equalizer, yeah, Zeus, you know, he walks over it a little bit, but he doesn't really take damage. Faker tries to go in and then Carrier Hex flashes forward, which means Doran and Guma, the door's just wide open.
Insta turn from Hanwha was so slick.
Immediately, the moment they see that, they know that they can get on top of Doran, who doesn't have his flash. And that solo kill, entirely Doran's fault. That right there, yeah, I'm a Doomer. It's done.
Doomer Chronicler, no! I thought I'd never see the day.
There's no way Hanwha Life don't win this game. Absolutely zero. Curses aren't real.
Curses aren't real.
You can't do it.
Batman isn't real.
If Hanwha Life lose this game, I will believe in curses.
Wow.
I swear,
Chronicler.
if Hanwha Life somehow lose this,
You're a changed man today. I don't know what to say.
I will believe.
That's crazy. We're getting a little engaged here. Owner very, very low. And he ult in from Peanut as Doran's so low. Get a nice ult away. As Zeus, though, is pretty deep. Delight as well, getting chunked out. But the damage from Zeka and Viper is just so gigantic. And even Zeus is still here. Gonna get the Naga, but it's a little bit too deep. Look at the health bars of T1. That's all Viper and Zeka just chunking them down. The Infernal Soul's not making it easier.
Owner? 4th mark? I can't help it still dream though.
All right, he's got smite. Okay,
he's got this.
4th mark.
It's fine.
Question is, does he die?
It's worth.
No, he's fine, he's fine.
It's fine.
Okay. All right.
So, bit of a messy fight.
It's just, it's only messy because Hanwha Life are so deep in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, they didn't need to do this. Delight also goes in on carry out, obviously isn't too bothered by this whole thing. And the equalizer actually ends up doing a lot of damage. Faker arrives just in time. Keep his back line up. And then Viper isn't doing that much for a large part of this fight just because of the positioning. The riding needs to be a little bit more respectful. So they're missing their biggest damage source. 1 or 2 more Qs could have really been the demise there for the T1 members. And again, Infernal Soul Veldas, it's just so hard to play into.
And we might get an Elder Flip here while Hanwha Life have, well, I call it an Elder Flip. It might just be Hanwha Life securing it because they have Infernal. They have 3 Ornn items.
You know, the gold's still even, and Elder is on the map in 3.5 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, but as you mentioned before, the gold's number might be even, but the Ornn items plus Infernal Soul value is, I mean, might be like 5, 6K ahead.
Yeah, once Zeka gets his...
Little flank.
Oh, little flank.
Little flankaroo. They didn't go in on that. Guma's alone, and the flank. Who's flanking who? What is this?
Is that Pool Bay?
I guess so. Except it's Faker, actually. He's might just die to Peanut alone, who is ulting in onto Galio. And yeah, he's just kind of playing with his food at this point. Guma left out to dry. And it's just Hanwha, like, they're just waiting, baiting them into these rough spots. And T1 trying to find an angle, but they just cannot.
Viper has, I'm pretty sure, had sums this entire game. I don't think they've been forced.
Maybe he used them aggressively?
Maybe like very early on.
Yeah.
Well, might do that here.
Well, Charm's going to miss, but Carrier's not in the fight anymore. Still going to try to get in there. He doesn't have his ult.
You got to get this.
Yeah, Equalizer comes down. Owner knocked away. And now they can just smite it down. Easy peasy. There it goes as, yeah. That's a Baron now over to the side of Hanwha Life Esports. They get it for free. Only expending, you know, the flash of Delight and his ult. Very much worth.
So he doesn't have Hack's flash, so that's actually a win. As we take another look, attempted flank setup here just doesn't quite work because Guma, the flanker, gets flanked because Peanut comes out of nowhere, gets on top of Senna. Yeah, there's nothing you can do with Senna in that instance. The moment that Peanut gets on top of you, really get close to you, you just die. And then here, this is again the power of Infernal Soul. You don't even takedown carry, but it doesn't matter. He's out of the fight. Then the equalizer assumes that they're gonna like leave or be behind Baron. Neither is true because there's not enough threat from the rest of the team.
It just, yeah.
I've already, you know, put in my vote, as you do.
You put in your vote like 20 minutes ago.
I did, yeah.
Chronicler was a doomer before he made it public. I'm just gonna say that. At least for this series.
It's
not in general.
It's 320 stacks on small.
Yeah.
Not when I put that.
I'm not gonna label you as a general doomer. Just for this game, this series.
I don't know.
Which, I mean,
There's still a chance. I want to believe.
For me, it was when Poppy got
Because
and
if I end up being wrong, you know, and curses are real, it means it's a slightly more magical world.
It's an opportunity for growth, I'd say. Faker trying to hit the taunt flash, but that doesn't work anymore on many patches ago, many years ago. So, yeah.
Elder in 20 seconds. No ults outside of the equalizer invested. The equalizer will be up relatively soon. Home Alive not getting that much value out of this Baron power play. It's legit playable. If Owner gets the Smite Steal, and they are then able to keep everyone up with Guma's healing and the shielding from both Faker and the healing from Owner. Don't forget, T1 still have Otacon, so if they can get a kill, it can snowball quickly. They do not have a lot of pedals because they didn't get a lot of kills since the Otacon, but we can dream. There are two wolves inside me, Veldis. And they're fighting each other!
Yeah.
Come on, T1.
All right, well,
Look
they're
at
on
the
vision.
light. Look at the poke.
The damage already coming in onto this Elder. TP is going to be pretty straight up. Poke goes down onto Doran. Zeka's got an angle, but he's spotted. And it's getting lower and lower. Bomb will be called, and in goes Zeka. Gonna hit the charm on that back line, and Doran's almost already dead. As Owner throws in the ult, we got the Galio over the top. Delight might be in some trouble, but Owner's already dead. As the jungler goes down for T1, and they don't have a fight afterwards. In goes the Nefiri. Peanut just hunting them down like the Nefiri you would expect. And it was over a long time ago, but Hama Life gonna put the nail in that coffin and take down this Elder Drake.
No wave deep enough. Turret still standing. So the odds of an actual end right now, not really there. As are we just we're stalling it for? I kind of like
waiting.
that. Yeah, waiting as long as you want to. As the attempt from Zeka doesn't work, but he's still able to ult out and flash. And then the health bars on Doran and Owner are just already gone. When the fight begins. And Viper is just not even remotely friendly. And any fight where Viper is just living and fine, it's just nothing you can do. There you go, there's the aggressive flash!
Yeah. Well, there's the Elder.
I think he was waiting for the light, and obviously also you got, which I feel like a lot of
reset
teams,
timing, you know.
well, a lot of teams don't do enough either, where you maximize value from this buff when you can actually use it.
Yeah.
It's by just getting it ASAP and then like, this might be what, like 20
Everybody
seconds?
backs and they buy and they run back to lane, and yeah, 20, 30 seconds.
They just lose out on it.
Yeah. Peanut's just farming his wolves after getting it, which maybe he needs a little bit of extra money.
GA's done, Valdez.
Yeah. So, either way, GA is done for Viper. Death Stance finished for Peanut. As now they're going to use all of this gold, plus the Infernal and the Elder Drake, and all the Orin items. He's got it on everybody at this point, including Delight. Has that upgraded locket. I think that was the item we were looking at that had like 700 health.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh. It's way too much. And Faker going for the desperation flank. He'll be able to live, it looks like, but again, living at this point, not feeling too great. Maybe he was like trying to get the wave or something, because they don't have Baron, right? So it's pretty desperate either way. And the flank, or not the flank, the push, the siege is still happening here. And the Ornhorn will be called just to force it underneath the turret. They're going to find Owner as the turn comes in, and he's not going to die because of his ult, but now he's going to die. Just a little bit after the fact. Homalive Esports will be taking down this inhibitor turret and the inhibitor, and we'll be looking for the 2-0 here tonight in relatively simple fashion. Delight going to find another angle reminiscent of that level 4 gank that he got mid lane onto Faker, which really started the snowball in this game. They don't quite have a wave. But they've got some little wolves to help out here. And it's just a done deal at this point. Got 10 seconds on Keria, who won't be able to clear out the waves. So there you have it. 34 minutes, and Humble Life will take down T1 in 2-0 fashion. Not much to see here in the series, to be honest. We thought it was going to be closer. We thought it was going to be epic. But instead, Hanwha are just proving that they are the better team.
There were moments, but they were mostly limited to the early parts of Game 1. And I'm sure, as always, there'll be a lot of talk about why Hanwha was able to get such a big win. Is obviously so much crossover, right, between these two teams. Got everyone hugging Doran, which is really cute to see. Obviously spent a good amount of time on Hanwha Life, and also spend even more time with Peanut as well as with Delight. As he had to play Ornn to do it. So is it really a win? I don't know. As unfortunately for T1, the 2-0 was Peanut. The Neferi was.
You got to win on the Neferi.
Yeah,
He was good.
he was fine. He was good enough. But that first game, that was vintage Peanut. That's it.
Yeah.
That was amazing. And it should come as absolutely no surprise that my vote went to the Super Soldier in the mid lane. I know.
Yeah.
It's Viper.
But Viper did the boom boom damage.
Well, yeah, Viper was
Did Viper
also...
did he even do more than second this game? Probably, just because he's older.
Delight could also, if it was a POG, it would be Delight, right? Like if it was an individual
Sure.
game, I think the Poppy just does too much. And
I think that was Delight's family.
Hanwha Life, with this, securing themselves the second seed, setting up for a rematch of our LCK and LCK Cup finals, but now with Hanwha Life, with Zeus, with a Chovy that's on full form. Can't wait to see that. The T1, a lot to work on, because I think that part of it will be talking about the draft, but we got to be real. Plays like that just simply can't happen, right? Like that is just
Not against Hanwha Life.
We say that, but there's a this team almost lost to DNF at the beginning of this of last week, right?
Yeah.
And for T1, I think that some experimentation when it comes to those drafts is inevitable as we approach the playoff. The Smolder coming back for Viper. I'm sure Chovy is just salivating, and possibly so is Ruler. If you're talking about Penta machines, Smolder is definitely high up there. But the gameplay just wasn't quite up to par today. Not even Owner having his usual impact. I think him getting caught, him having a bit of a rough end to the season where he was really, without a shadow of a doubt, the #1 jungler. I feel like this last couple of weeks in their losses have really kind of shown that it's also not just that he needs to perform and he's performing well, but if he doesn't, it feels like T1 loses a lot of its edges.
Yeah. The
See
team
that
fight
this
setup
fight-
was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's only remotely close because Owner gets the ults off. Otherwise, Zeus, I think, just kills both of them there.
Yeah. Now, he like barely got it off. I was surprised he did because he took so much damage from Zeka, even without being charmed. And then he took like the Ornn horn to the face. Viper was right there. And I mean, there's only so much you can do with one Kindred ult. It was just, the snowball was too big at that point.
라인 들어올 때나 다이브 볼 거야 이거.
Looking for the dive.
그럼 까볼게 그냥.
I'm just going to use my ult.
세나.
Senna?
세나 노플인데?
세나 다 바꿔.
Talking about Senna.
알리 볼게 우리.
알리 노플이야.
Flash.
끝난다.
괜찮아?
Not happy that he died.
이걸 받았어.
알리오 노플인데 풀백 한가 볼게.
Galleon a flash, I'll look for the setup. That was about it. They go on to end T1 in pretty straightforward fashion. And it was actually Viper that did a tiny bit more damage than Zeka, but that's saying a lot because he was playing Smolder. And the fact that Zeka had that much damage. Yeah, he's the POM, guys. I haven't seen the votes, but he's the
Well,
POM.
that's what we knew earlier today.
And that was my boy Daystar, okay? He 100%
He can
deserved
get
it.
away with anything.
Yeah. 1 death in 2 games, and he dominated on Silas, he dominated on Ari.
1 death playing Silas and Ari.
It's a classic Zeka.
This really
angle.
is. And it sets up the storylines for this playoffs, because Hanwha Life just in the nick of time leveling up to really, and we were kind of waiting for it. You know, it's the meme of the dog that's like dragging his hind legs and it just stands up and you're like,
only they can level up.
very much.
Solo leveling. No, I mean,
I can't believe I'm getting anime reference.
it
by
kind
Brendan
of feels
Valdez.
that way because everybody else is kind of like stable at their zone. Although T1 has leveled up a bunch.
T1's a
well,
level up. I think Genji's leveled up a lot as well.
Yeah.
But
This
so
solo
maybe
leveling
those
angle doesn't
three
really
can
work.
level. I do know that Nongshim KTDK, I'm not so sure.
KT leveled up a lot.
Yeah.
They were like 3 and 7.
For now, surely they won't lose to
It's a roller
Genji
coaster. You never know.
and DRX this week and
They might
somehow
beat Gen-
drop out.
They might beat Genji. We'll see.
They might not. We don't know.
Genji's having fun at the end. You know, they're preparing for playoffs. Well, for road to MSI. They're trying to get that spot to MSI. And they will. They will. As good as Helma looked today, like Genji are better than them right now. Although we'll see what happens when it comes to an, you know, a best of 5, right? Should be a lot of fun. But guys, we do have the interview ready with Zeka. I'm going to hand it over to Ji-sun for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun for the POM interview translation, joined by Zeka on the side of Honda Life Esports after their 2-0 victory up against T1. Congratulations! Thank you very much. With this victory, Honda Life secured second place of the LCK round 1 and 2. What does it mean to you? Yeah, we had to secure the second place, and we thought it would be a very hard challenge for us because we were going up against T1, and I'm very grateful that all of us together made it happen. And today, with this win, you guys ended your losing streak as well. What kind of feedbacks did you guys have after losing to Genji and the plus Kia? Recently, we had a lot of mistakes in game, and our communications were a little off as well. So we wanted to make sure that we can work on those issues during scrims. Well, game number 1, you had a very tough laning phase matchup, but you managed to turn everything around in the laning phase and team fights. How did you manage to pull it off? It was for sure a very hard and tough matchup for me. So I think our main plan was playing around the side lanes and then setting up team fights around objectives. There was a team fight where you were able to hijack the enemy's ult and then set up for the entire team fight by yourself. Do you think Silas is a good pick right now in the current patch? Well, Silas didn't really get any direct buff in this patch, but with the changes in the AP items, I think this is pretty strong. Do you think you are the best Silas player? I think so. The confidence coming out from Zeka was displayed in the play as well. And then game 2, you guys were on the red side. And then this time around, you guys were leaning towards the late game value comp. What was the direction going to game number 2? So game number 1, we didn't really have a lot of picks that had laning priority. So I had Ari on the mid lane. And then it was a decent status for me, honestly, but the play and roam play coming out from Delight was so on point, and then I was able to have such a good time after that. So how did you play out Galio-Ari matchup? Well, Ari, of course, has the priority, basically, but I think thanks to Delight, ganking mid lane, I was able to gain so much lead. Is there anything you would like to say to Delight? Because he was the one that set up for that first blood with the gank on the mid lane. He made a promise earlier today, actually. I actually made a promise. Okay, so I said, I'm feeling pretty good. And then he was like, then I'm just gonna gank mid for you. And then he actually did it for me. I'm very glad. And I saw on YouTube that you binge eat on match day, after match. So what's on the menu tonight? Or what did you have earlier? Nothing, because on that day when I said so, I ate too much and then I got food poisoning and then the side effects were so bad, so I'm never doing that again. Then what about the meal after the match? Going for the hot pot, Haidilao, of course. That's on my list. Now you guys are the second place team in the LCK round 1 and 2, and one last match to play. What is your mindset? There's only one match left, and that's gonna be the final kind of checkup before heading on to the Road to MSI tournament. So I hope we can keep the best form and momentum. And this will be the end of the interview with Zeka, and back to the space. Thank you.